it sounds good in your brain straight like that. And it is the morning show. So check it out. As of recent, we've been hearing more in the news about the particular group that is coming when it comes to the illegal immigration. So while they have been reporting this since 2021, and the huge numbers they are arriving when the new administration came into place, they are now reporting military-aged men from African descent, Asian descent, and Indian descent. There have been military-aged men flooding the country since 2021, yet they were from a particular region. They were from south of the border. And those same people, not only were military-aged men were coming, but people with families who may not, were not families at all. These people were bringing in huge numbers of people, and there was no DNA test to conclude that, hey, these are actually family members. No. They also do not want these so-called military-aged men from African descent and Asian descent and Indian descent. It becomes more alarming because when they're not as subservient and not as corrupt and not as much as a anything goes type society and do whatever. Also, education plays a big factor in this. These people south of the border, whether they can or not, have a habit and a consensus of not speaking a lick of English, not a bit of English do they speak when they arrive here. Yet, the Africans speak English, the Indians speak English, and the Asians speak English. Education gap, which also, we all know, the more education you have, the more opportunities you have. And with that becomes alarming because they're no longer just going for the industries that they didn't care about when people were complaining about for 3 years, how many of these people are coming and how many people are coming to affect the job market when it was affecting the caretaker, housemaid position to warehousing position to the construction positions. It was not a problem. But now you have immigrants who are coming in who can take over the corporate world, who can take over the healthcare sector, who can take over other industries because of their education that they're bringing from their former countries. Now it becomes a big problem. Now it becomes a major issue, and there are talking about these so-called military-aged men and these Chinese nationals. You understand? When it was a absolute corrupt group of people who seem to have lower education, as you can see, did not speak as much or little or to no English at all, as you would see commonplace. It was not a problem. You understand? So this is what you need to be aware of while you are watching the news. You understand? There was no complaint of, well, let's say this. They say, oh, their cartels are controlling the border. Well, why is it that when President Trump was in office, there was none of this activity going on? I say to you once again, you think America would let some common folk, people who do not speak English, people who are just, as you can say, who are so desperate to come in the country because of the terms and how the conditions they're living in, these people with no resources, how are they claiming that these same people are controlling a border? When only 4 years ago, when the Trump administration was in office, this was not a problem. This was not an issue. Yet and still, I say again, they were bringing a certain demographic in this country. in massive, massive numbers. You understand that? So make sure that you are aware when you're watching the news what gets people alarmed and what they're really saying. Because you can say, oh, yes, it is race. Oh, because the race there. And you'll notice that African Americans didn't have a big issue with them coming, with all these illegal immigrants coming, until they seen a whole wave of Africans, Indians, and Asians coming. Why is that? It was more than just, oh, they're trying to replace us. It was more than that. You teach the white people, the white Americans, all right? They didn't have an issue with these people from the south of the border arriving to the country. They didn't have an issue with that until it became Africans, Indians, Asians. As you know, these people and these people that come from these regions are educated once again in the healthcare sector, the technology sector, and the corporate areas. They come with a major advantage already by just being able to speak English and to read and write. So think about it more in an aspect or in a design of what's happening. And always when you see race, say, well, let's go a little further and let's see exactly what it is. Look at the example of what happens when people from these other countries and regions get into political power. Look at Mayorkas. This gentleman is the most corrupt, will not answer any of Congress's questions, and are having some of the worst cases. Those people, which he knows and everyone knows, are dying from the numbers. People who, how does anyone realize, are able to pay $15,000 to trek through the desert and get here and still be what they call modern day slavery. And they want those kind of people, and they want them from this kind of region because this kind of region treats their people as such in this modern 2023. Treating their people as absolute slaves. Mexico won't even let these people stay. They're coming from all of these countries. If you speak Spanish, Mexico speaks Spanish, why you just doesn't stay there? And if you're seeking asylum, why don't you stop in that country? Why do you have to seek asylum in the U.S.? You're around people that speak your language, but no, Mexico won't let them stay, sending them back. And guess what? While Mexico is not letting them stay and sending them back, why in the world why isn't America doing the same? How is it possible that Mexico can exercise deportation against their people, but America can't exercise deportation against foreigners who are bringing absolutely corruption to the country? You are looking at it right now. Flying everywhere, no corona tests. Lies. Corona is a lie. It is over with. It is finished. And they have been exposed. These people took the most corrupt way to get here instead of doing it the right way, taking that $15,000, buying a plane ticket, coming to the right port of entry to go and do the most corrupt way to get to this country and trust and put their money into the hands of a illegal way of coming into the country. Why? Corruption?